All right, so this is a master upgrade class between me and one of my guys by name Dennis Couture, right? Dennis Couture. So this video is just for most of us who might want to have a deep understanding about how to make male outfits. So this is not a regular online video you might see anywhere or anyhow. But the reason I am making this video is for us to watch, for some of us who might be in the same shoes with Danny. Now, Danny has been in the business for a number of years and he wished to have a clear understanding and approach on how to achieve some perfections in his work. So I'll be taking him through the processes of drafting a male block and process of the top and the trouser. So this will be very explicit. So I'll urge you to watch the very end. So if you are also in the quest of learning how or mastering your craft, this video is also for you. So we are going to be dealing on top drafting and trouser drafting all in this video. It will be a very long video, right? So just make sure you watch to the very end. Now, these measurements we are going to work with are a chest of 48, shoulder of 19, sleeve length of 18, that's for 3/4 sleeve, round sleeve of 15-14, neck of 19, top length of 37. The waist we have is 41, hip is 47, lap 29, knee 19, ankle 15, length of trouser 37. So the marker I'm using is not that visible. That's why you cannot see it clearly. I'm trying to explain or mention the values on the board. Now, before we start drafting, there are some tricks I want to explain in this measurement or in this video. Now, for every good measurement, because the measurement is the trick to every good drafting. Now, for every good measurement, let's start from the trouser. Your hips over 4 plus extra 2 inches must be equal to or slightly bigger than your lap measurement divided by 2. So this measurement I have is for a client, so let's confirm if it's true. Now, the hip is 47. If you divide this by 4, you have 11-3/4, right? Then plus extra 2, you are going to have 13-3/4. That's, let's just say 14. Do you get? Now, if you divide your lap measurement by 2, you're going to have 14.5. And also bear in mind that if you add the extra 2 inches that is at the back panel, it will cover the excesses or the deficits you have here. So, but then the trick here is when you divide your hip by 4 plus extra 2 inches, the difference should not be much than 1 inch or half an inch. Now, in most cases, it must be equal to or a bit bigger than the lap measurement divided by 2. This lap is actually 28, but I did it 29 for ease, for comfort's sake, for my clients, right? So for the measurement they gave me, this lap is 28, but because of my own perfection's sake, I wanted it to be a free measurement, and then so that there won't be any error. I did it to be 29. So this is just my own adjustment, but from the measurement they gave me, it's perfect. I am the one that increased it to 29. So in such cases, I can still use 48 hip in drafting this outfit. Then if it's that case, that means 48 over 4 is 12 plus extra 2 inches is going to be 14, right? So that will also give me exact value of whatever I am looking for 28 lap measurement. Now, I want to also let you know that the difference from the waist to the hip is always from 7 to 10 inches and above for all adult measurements. What am I trying to say? This shows that this man that has a waist of 41 cannot have a hip that is less than 7 inches bigger than this. That this man cannot have a hip of 45, nor even 46. So his hips should be from 7 inches and above. So this goes to show that we are going to make this hip to be 48. Now, how did I get these values I am mentioning to you? These are constant values that are repeating in the course of my work, in the course of my fashion designing. So I have observed that the difference from your waist measurement and your hip is always 7 inches, 8 inches, 9 inches, 10 inches. So even if the customer did not give you the hip measurement of your client, you can add extra 7 or 8 or 9 to this to get your hip value. Now, the question is, how do you know when to add these values? You only know this when the value of the waist is big enough. Let's assume you have a waist of 40, 41 above. You should know that this person is already a big person. So you should add like 8, 9, or 10 to the hip measurement to have that perfect fit on your trouser. Except when proven otherwise, maybe some client that has big waist but no buttocks or no hip value or lesser hip value. So, but this is just a repeating factor that I have observed in the course of my training. So, having said this, now you should also know that you must measure these areas accordingly: the waist, the hip, the knee, the lap, the knee, ankle, and the trouser length. Then for the chest, you have, for the top, you have the chest, shoulder, sleeve length, round sleeve, and the neck and top length. Also know that in every point, or at every point in time you're making a long sleeve or a three-quarter, you will have, for three-quarter, you have 2 values of round sleeves: the muzzle area and the point where the sleeve is ending, because the wideness of the arm here is not the same with the one you have here or wherever the sleeve is ending. But on short sleeves, you are only going to have 1 value in the round sleeve measurement, because the short sleeve stops on the bicep region. Now, having said that, the next you will do is to also know that long sleeves, we have 3 values in the round sleeve: the bicep area, the elbow, and the wrist. So these values will be in a descending order because of the fact that your muzzle area is bigger than your elbow, and elbow is bigger than your wrist measurement. So that's for the long sleeves, if you're making a long sleeve. Now also know that in most cases, your shoulder value and neck value almost tallies. In most cases, your shoulder value and your neck value are almost the same. This simply means that even if your customer did not give you a neck measurement, you could as well use the shoulder to manipulate and get a reasonable neck value that will work, because it's assumed, or it has been a fact, that if a customer has a broad shoulder, that the neck will also be a bit wide or a bit big. Or if it has a big value on shoulder, the neck will also be big. If you are slim, your neck will also be slim. Now, this occurs at least 80% of measurements I have come across with. So in this measurement we have, it's a pure confirmation that the shoulder is 19 and the neck is 19. But then this does not mean that all shoulder of 19s comes with neck of 19. I have seen a customer that has a shoulder of 18 and a half and neck is 16. Now this was on a peculiar differences, but on a general difference, you will see that the neck and the shoulder are almost the same in values. Highest 1 inch lesser or 1 inch more, that's the neck will be 1 inch lesser. But on no account should the neck be bigger than the shoulder. On no account should the neck be bigger than the shoulder. The shoulder is always either the same with the neck or bigger than the neck. So these are the things you should bear in mind, because in most cases, if you don't have a customer's neck measurement, it will not really be cool with you. You might now want to know his shoulder, and then from the shoulder you can now guess or derive the neck value. Now, having said that, also these are the measurements that we are going to work with. So we are going to use this measurement now in drafting the top. Like I told you guys, this video will be very long, so do well to watch till the very end. So if you have watched so far at this point, I want to say thank you to you, and also ask you to like this video, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. So let's get to the drafting stage proper. So here we are working with a blue Italian wool CS. So this is called CS fabric. Why some can call it virgin wool, but this is not pure cashmere. They might say write cashmere on the tip, but don't mind what they wrote. But the main thing is you are working with a good fabric. So you also make sure that your fabric measurement, your fabric value you are going to work with must be enough to work for both the top and trouser. But then the best thing I will tell you here is that you must first start cutting your outfit from the trouser. Now I will tell you why as we progress. Now you have to bring the both edges of this outfit and then place in this form. Now this placement you are doing is of great essence that you must arrange your material. Now you should also note that you are not allowed to draft your outfit when the fabric is rumpled or folded. And if your table is not long enough, you are meant to bring a stool and pack the excesses of the fabric on top of the stool. Now, the reason for packing it just this way is to make sure that the fabric is being held firmly so that it doesn't slide off or move out from your placement. So you make sure it's arranged properly and there is no rumples or whatsoever. So once you have gotten to that stage, now the next you will do is to start marking out. So the first value or the first thing you are going to mark out here will be your baseline. So the baseline, you will mark it out this way. Now before we mark out our baseline, I want to show you one tool that I also use that helps me to make it to be perfect as well. This tool is called a T-square. It's mostly used when you're making suits or you want to also be perfect in your drafting. So what is the essence of this? The essence of this is to make sure that your baseline here is straight. So how do you balance it? Make sure that when you have gotten to the point you want to cut off, then you lap the edge at this part, making sure it's straight enough. And then with that, once here is properly balanced, here will be straight as well, right? Then you mark out the baseline. You mark out your baseline. So this helps you to get a straight line with much ease. So you don't need to bother again on if the line is straight or not. Then after which, you also use your straight ruler and also mark out the side line from here as well. So you mark it out from here as well. Mark it out from here. And then you also make sure these lines are drawn up to the point where your length of trouser will be covered, right? So make sure you don't cut off much. Mark it to come out where you know that the length of trouser will be perfectly covered. So after which you mark 2 inches for the folding of your trouser. It must be 2 inches. It can't be 3 or 1.5. Please use 2 inches in all your markings. Then mark 2 inches here for the folding of your trouser. So once this line has been properly marked out, now the next you will do is to apply the length of your customer's trouser measurement. So with the one we have here is 37 trouser length. So now this length we are marking now is also included, like the crotch, the band, everything is inside this length. I did not remove or deduct any value for the band or anything. I use the whole length of trouser to mark. Then I will mark at this point this way, and also mark again 37 again all through this way. So make sure you mark twice so that your straight line at the waist will be perfect. You mark all through this way. So now the measurement or the pattern of trouser we are going to use is called the gradient line method. So this method simply states that, in fact, let me explain it in my own terms. This is the method that covers every measurement of your customer, excluding the lap. Now, why is the lap excluded? Because of the fact that I told us that if you divide your hip by 4 plus extra 2 inches, it must be equal to or a bit greater than the lap measurement over 2. So this method of trouser does not need the lap value to be cut, but it does not mean that the lap is not considered. The lap is considered from the value of your hips over 4 plus extra 2 inches, assuming all measurements are perfect and constant. Now, having said this, now the next you will do is to get your crotch. Now, how do you get your crotch? The simplest method I use to get my crotch is divide the hip over 4 and then consider if the customer is a tall client or a short client. Then how do you know if he or she is short or tall? The only way you know if you have a tall client or a short client is from the trouser length. Now, what is the recommended length of trouser? The length of trouser I will suggest or I will tell you is that any length that is not up to 39 and above is being seen as a short person. But when the length is from 39 inches and above, you are being considered as a tall person. So what happens in both scenarios? Now, if you have a hip of 48, as we have on the board, 47 rather, on the board, but we are going to do it 48 for the drafting sake to make sure that the hip is properly covered, right? So let's say 48. So if the hip is 48, for example, divide by 4, you have 12. Now, before you mark the 12, make sure that you cross-check the length of trouser. When the length of trouser is not up to 39 and above, you have to minus ½ inch or 1 inch, depending on the scenario. But if the length is from 39 inches and above, you don't need to minus or deduct anything. You use the whole value of the hip over 4 to get your crotch measurement. Now, in some cases, you might want to make a client's outfit that is fitted, pants trouser, that lasts very well. You can now decide to deduct ½ an inch just for your own perfection's sake, not as if it's a rule that is holding you back in this scenario. So, having said this, in summary, if your hip is up 39 inches and above, minus ½ inch from the crotch from the hip of 4 to get your crotch. If your hip is not up to, if your length is up to 39, minus ½ inch, and so on and so forth. So let's get down to the main cutting. So in this scenario, our hip is 48. So divide by 4, you have 12, right? So you are going to minus ½ an inch for the length of trouser. Now, when do we need to minus 1? We minus 1 if the length is so short, like 35, 36, or 35 and a half. When you have a very short client, you minus full 1. But when you have someone that the length is close to 39, maybe 38 and a half, 37 and a half, minus half, little deduction. So the hip is 48, minus half is 11.5. So here, you mark 11.5. So this is the point where you have your crotch measurement calculated. Also note that this 11.5, the band is also included in the whole crotch calculation. So don't bother about the band anymore. So just follow the procedure I'm showing you in this video, and you will get your perfect drafting. So after this now, the next you will get is your knee point. So how do you get your knee point? Convention will tell you that from your waist to your knee is 23 inches. That's 21 inches, 22 or 23. Depends on how high or how tall you are. So here, you measure from the crotch depth to your ankle line. We have it to be 25 and a half. Divide the distance into 2 equal parts. You have it to be 12 3/4. Then minus 3, which is a constant deduction for everybody, every adult. So here is 12 3/4 minus 3 is 9 3/4. So you can just say 10. So you just mark 10-inch value. So this 10 inches you are marking is your knee point from your crotch depth, right? For this particular client. Some person can be 11, 12, or 13, depending on the height of the person. So here we have our knee line properly drafted. Then the next we are going to do now is the mark to mark our hip value, which is 12, right? Which is a 12. So you have this here to be 12 inches, which covers the hip over 4, which is 48 over 4. Then plus extra 2 inches, which is constant. So this 2 inches is not respective of the hip value or the size you are making. So you mark it to be this point. At this point, you are going to now measure the total distance from the 2 inches to the end of the crotch, which is now 14, right? So get the midpoint. This midpoint is called the grain line or the gradient line or the plumb line, meaning that a line that demarcates the total distance of the crotch hip over 4 potential 2 inches on the crotch line. It's called the grain line. So here is 7. So you mark 7 inches in this form. So transfer the 7 inches also on the knee and also on the ankle. So here you measure 14 inches and you mark 7 as well. Then transfer it as well all through this way, 14, and then you also mark 7. So this I have marked now is called the grain line. Then join the lines with a disjointed line, or you can join with a connected lines. However you want to do it is solely your choice. So this is what I mean by disjointed line that breaks, that does not join all through, right? Then after that, the next you are going to do here is to apply your knee value. So the knee we have is 29. So 29, knee is 19, 19. So in such cases, in drafting, I do make some adjustments, and then when closing or when stitching, I will now fall back to the real value. So for easy application of the knee, I will just make it to be 20. That's 10. Divide by 2 again, that's 5. From the center line here, I will mark 5 inches at both ends this way. For easier application, I will mark 5 inches at both ends. So this I'm marking here is just to give me more room, to lock my trouser without much stress. After this, the ankle is 15. So such case as well, I can mark it to be 4 at both ends. So invariably, I am adding 1 inch extra on the knee and on the ankle, which will serve me for my weaving and also my closing allowance, right? So the measurement of the customer remains the same. Now, after you have done this, the next you will do now is to raise this line to come up straight in this form. So the raising can be 10 inches high. This line must be 10 inches high, thereabouts. Then make sure that whatever value you have here, you have on the ankle is what you also have where it's ending, the same value. So raise it as well all through to this very point. So we have marked for the ankle and we are done with that. Now let's move over to the waist area. So for the waist region, now the next we are going to do here is to make sure that we apply our waist very well. So the waist we have is 41. Divide by 4, you have 10 1/4. That's 10.25. You mark it this way, and then add extra 1 inch. This 1 inch is very essential. It's a must. You add 1 inch on your waistline of your front trouser. Please don't add 2. Don't add 1.5. Use 1 inch so that you make the same stitching I will be making in this video. Then connect the lines all through this way. Connect the lines. The 1 inch, the 1 inch you connect the 1 inch line to your real hip line. Just this way. Connect it in this form. The 1 inch you added will be connected to the real hip value, right? And after which you bring your armhole curve and hip curve, which I will bring and show you how to also use. These tools are very essential. This is called the armhole curve or the neckline curve. This is called the arm curve or the hip curve as well. So these are tools that you must have as well, so that you can use the same tools in drafting. So after you have marked all this way, take your armhole curve. This helps to make an arc at every point. So we need an arc that comes from the hip extension to somewhere on the waistline that came to the hip. So just place this way and make sure that the arc is properly placed. Then connect from here with a curve. Now this extension does not have a particular limit. It goes. It can be 2 inches or 2.5. But then if you have this, just slap it on the line and then curve. It's perfect for that. Then after that, you are going to slant the waistline by 1/2 inch. That is for the waist slanting or waist slope. Then connect the line somewhere above the center point of your trouser. It goes all through this way, somewhere above, not at the center, across it. Then after which, mark 2.5 inches for the pocket notch this way, and mark for the pocket depth as well. So this could be 7 inches or 7.5, depending on the size of your client. So we are making it to be 7.5 for bigger sizes. So after this now, the next thing we do is to connect the line on the crotch point to the hip line. So this could come with a stretch rule or with your hip curve as well. Whichever one you find interesting, you can go ahead and make use of it. So I like using my stretch rule and then connecting it in this form all through this way. And then use your hip curve as well. Connect the line that came from the ankle line and make sure it synchronizes perfectly to the knee line. You see how the line connection is being done. Also connect this as well, either with a stretch rule or your hip curve as well. Connect all through this way. And then after that, use your hip curve and synchronize it to perfectly link up with the ankle line, and it goes all through this way. So this is how you connect your lines. So if you now notice that you have a sharp edge at the hip region, you can now blend with this, right? Blend with this so that it doesn't give a sharp edge here. So we have finished drafting the front panel of our trouser. So we are going to cut out this, and then I'll also show you how to cut the back as well. All right, so after you have drafted out this, now I want to tell you more what you do before you proceed. Now, in most cases, if you're working with a large value or large hip measurement, you notice that you might have exceeded the center line of the fabric unfold. So what then do you need to do? To make sure to confirm that the fabric left here will be enough for the back panel, what you will do is you have to measure 2 inches high from the 1/2 inch slanting you have on the front panel, right? That 1/2 inch is slanted the front panel, come up by 2 inches, and then take the crotch, which is now 13. You know, the back is meant to be higher by 2 inches. So 13 inches is where the crotch depth of the front will fall. Then measure the hip extension for the back, 2 inches as well. So at point 13 inches, you are looking for a back of 16. So confirm what you have. At point 13, you are looking for back width of 16. So from the fabric you have on fold, you assume 13 inches or whatever value you have this way, and then look for 16 to make sure that the fabric is going to enter the back panel. Now, what happens when your value is now inside the fabric you have drafted? You have to adjust this way. You have to adjust this way. But if it has entered at, let's say, at point let's say 18, extra 2 inches, what I will do is I will measure 2 inches away from here, and then shift this as well by 2 inches. Then remark my line to shift the trouser by 2 inches to make the back to enter. That if the line encroaches on this area, but since the line is still on the plain fabric, so I'm very much on the safe side to continue my drafting. So that's why I want to explain and make sure you got value from watching this video. All right, so we are done drafting the back panel, the front panel at this point. So let us now draft the back. So all you need to do now is to just push this to come in front, just like this. And once you have gotten it to this point, then you fling the fabric in this form. Then the back panel do have an extra additional value you add. So which I will also show you in this video. So please, if you have watched to this very point, please, all you can do for me now is to give me a thumbs up in this video. It's very important that you like this video now, please. It's very important. Your liking of the video will help YouTube to recommend it to other people to watch, because this is a master class on drafting, which you might not see elsewhere. With the level of detailed information I give out, liking the video will not be a big deal, right? So let's proceed. So once you have gotten to this point, all you need to do now is to extend the trouser crotch by certain values. So which are, I will show you now. So extend this line all out, the crotch line, mark it out in this form. And then you are going to mark extra 2 inches at this point. Now, on some instances, when you have clients that are extra large, you can mark 2.5. Let's say from hip of 50 and above, you mark 2.5 inches here. But this one is a regular size, you mark 2 inches, which is ideal, or which is okay. Then also mark 2 inches as we go down this area. 2 inches all through as we all go down at this very point. Mark 2 inches all through as we all go down at this point. After this, the next you will do now is to connect the lines in twos. Connect the first 2 inches you marked here to the second 2 inches you marked here as well. Connect the second to the third to the fourth to fifth to sixth, and the last if you have marked more than 5. Then at the back panel, you are going to mark here, either you mark 2 inches here as well. Now 2 inches here you are marking is still okay, but before you finish sewing, you will trim. So I don't normally mark 2 inches anymore. I mark 1.5. So the 1.5 I'm marking is to, reduce the stress of trimming when I'm sewing. Then here you must mark 2 inches or 2.5. I'm marking 2 inches here. Then you connect the line with your hip curve all through in this form. And then take your armhole curve, place this way until you get the perfect connection that connects the hip area to the crotch point this way. You see, the curve must tally. This is how you should tally. Then the back panel will be raised by 2 inches because you don't want to make it to be a low waist or a saggy trouser at the back. They connect it all out to this very point. So this is how you draft your back panel as well. So after which you cut out from here. Make sure the cutting is perfectly done this way, and then you cut the crotch region as well. So this is a masterclass on how to draft your trouser with confidence, so that if you have watched to this very point and you have practiced or you want to practice, I will assure you that once your measurements are correct, you will get a perfect result like mine. This trouser drafting pattern I'm using is a must-know for all fashion designers whom want to perfect in their crafts. Then you cut out. Now these shapes you are seeing are very essential. They will serve you for the flap, the pocket facing for your trouser, right? These 2 shapes here. So you also make sure you cut. Then when you're cutting, make sure you don't shift the fabric, please. Note, your fabric must be left firm on the table while you go around the table to cut. Even if you want to adjust the fabric, you must do it in a very professional manner. Don't allow any fabric to fall short from the inside or however. Then from the back panel, this you also cut from here. You also cut from here. And then you are going to slit this because we placed it at the tip where the folding came from. So this is how it must look like, right? So after you have done this now, then this is the zip fly and this is the pockets facing. So you have to trim this to size or to fit. But before you do that, you have to mark or differentiate the front panel on the back panel by marking chalk somewhere at the hem, and make sure you don't mark color chalks on white fabrics. You only mark white to white and color to colored fabrics. So this one here is the pocket facing. The measurement we are going to use for it is 4 inches width by the length of 10 to 11 inches. So here you mark it out, or you cut it out in this shape, which you can use it as well in your pocket facing. So for the zip fly we are going to use measurement is 2.5 inches by 2.5 inch to 3 inches width by the length of 9 to 10 inches as well. And then you also curve, right? So this is for my zip flap or zip fly, which is very much okay. So 2.5 inches to 3 inches width, that's what we're going to use. This is exactly 2.5 exact. So even if I do not measure, I know the values I'm drafting out. After this now, you're going to cut the band, the waist pocket plackets, and this belt loop. So I also cut them and show you how to do it. Now for the band drafting, you make sure you cut the band in this direction, fold the fabric so that you don't, encroach more on the fabric. So you fold from here. Please mark out a fresh line, please. For the band, please mark out a fresh line. Very important. Mark out a fresh base. The band must be as straight as possible. And the measurement we have is 2.5. Now, usually I take the whole width this way, so that by the time I finish cutting, it should be more than enough to cover for my band. I will show you as well the sewing procedures. Now, I have made several videos on sewing, right? So even if you didn't see this exact video on sewing, do well to search my channel on the sewing. The sewing remains the same for every English trouser. But if you want to see the sewing, kindly comment, show the sewing, and then I will make time to make the video on the sewing procedures or processes. So this is for the band of my trouser, which covers my waist measurement over 4 plus extra 7 inches thereabout. So now after that, you are going to do the welt pocket placket, which is the back pocket, right? It's called welt pocket placket, and the measurements or the value you use for that is 3 inches width by length of 7 inches to 8 inches. So this is exactly what you want. Then we mark 3 inches thereabout and then cut out in this form. And the last but not the least is your belt loop, or what they call belt holder. So the value we are going to use for that one is 1.5 inch width by the length of 24. Remember, there are 6 loops. There are 6 loops on a trouser, and each loop is 4 inches. So 6 and 4 is 24. So you mark 1.5 inches width this way by the length of 24. So this I have right here is 13, which is more than enough. 26. So I will cut them together this way, and that will mark the end of the trouser drafting. So in order not to make the video very boring or too much long, I will make a second clip on mastering your cutting processes, and then I will make it to be the top. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope to see you on the next one. Bye bye for now.